I was about to eat dinner when the voicemail came in. 10 years of marriage, and this is how it ended. Hey babe, listen. I'm done with this marriage. I'm in Vegas with Lena, my yoga instructor. Honestly, it's been over for a while. Oh. And I maxed out all our credit cards. LOL, don't call me, I need to breathe again. He ended it with a laugh. After 10 years, a laugh. I just stood there with the food in my hands. I stared at the phone for what felt like hours. Then I calmly replied with 2 words. Safe travels. That was all I said, because by then I had already set everything in motion. And the damage was irreversible. You see, while my husband Alex thought he was playing chess, I had been playing an entirely different game. And he was about to find out that sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one you should fear the most. Before we dive into the story, I have a quick favor to ask. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our stories reach. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single twist in our revenge stories. We drop new videos every single day. My name is Alara Foster. I'm 36 years old, and this is my story. Alex wasn't always like this. When I met him 12 years ago in graduate school, he was different. Charming, yes, but also vulnerable. Intense in a way that made you feel like you were the only person in the world when he looked at you. He had this magnetic energy that drew people in, professors, classmates, strangers at coffee shops. Everyone wanted to be around Alex. I was 24, working on my MBA while juggling 2 part-time jobs. He was getting his business degree, talking big dreams about startups and changing the world. I was practical, methodical, maybe a little boring compared to his grand visions. But somehow, we worked. Those early years were beautiful in their simplicity. We lived in a cramped studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and cinder block bookshelves. We ate ramen and split bottles of $2 wine. I remember nights when we'd stay up until 3 in the morning, him sketching business plans on napkins while I ran numbers on my ancient laptop. We're going to build something incredible together, he'd say, his eyes bright with possibility. You and me against the world. I believed him. God, how I believed him. After graduation, reality hit hard. Alex's grand business ideas needed funding, connections, time to develop. Meanwhile, bills needed paying. I took a job at a consulting firm, long hours, decent pay, mind-numbing work. Alex freelanced sporadically, spending most of his time networking and building relationships. I didn't mind. I told myself we were investing in our future. When he needed money for conferences, I covered it. When his student loan payments kicked in, I helped. When he wanted to take a 3-month, strategic thinking retreat to Costa Rica, I worked overtime to make it happen. You're incredible, he'd tell me when I handed over another check. I don't know what I'd do without you. Once my company takes off, I'm going to spoil you rotten. 5 years passed, then 6, then 7. Alex's startup dreams evolved. First it was an app, then a consulting firm, then some kind of wellness platform. The details changed, but the pattern remained the same. He'd get excited, I'd fund it, nothing would materialize, and we'd start over. Meanwhile, my career flourished. I made senior associate, then manager, then director. My salary doubled, then tripled. We moved from the studio to a 1-bedroom, then to a beautiful 2-bedroom condo downtown. I put the down payment on everything. Our home, our car, even the engagement ring he eventually gave me. The wedding was small but elegant. I paid for most of it, naturally. Alex's contribution was his charm, his ability to make everyone feel like they were part of something special. Our wedding photos show him beaming, arms spread wide like he was embracing the world. I'm standing beside him, smiling quietly, holding the invoice for the venue in my purse. Those first few years of marriage were good, though complicated by one persistent shadow. We'd been trying to have children for 3 years without success. The fertility treatments, the monthly disappointments, the growing tension around what felt like failure. It was expensive, emotionally draining, and slowly becoming a wedge between us. Maybe we should take a break from trying, Alex suggested after another negative pregnancy test. Focus on building the business first. Get financially stable, then worry about kids. I agreed, though part of me wondered if he was relieved to postpone parenthood. Meanwhile, Alex finally launched his wellness consulting business, combining his natural charisma with the business acumen I'd helped him develop. Clients loved him. He had this way of making people feel seen, understood, like he held the key to their problems. The money started coming in, not huge amounts, but steady. Enough for Alex to lease a BMW, to shop at Whole Foods without checking prices, to book spontaneous weekend getaways. For the first time in our relationship, he wasn't depending entirely on my income. "See," he'd say, showing me his bank statements. "I told you this would work. We're partners now, equal partners." I was happy for him, genuinely. I'd spent so many years carrying the financial burden that seeing him succeed felt like validation. Like all those sacrifices had been worth it. But success changed Alex. Subtly at first, then more obviously. He started caring about things that had never mattered before: designer clothes, expensive restaurants, being seen at the right events. He hired a personal trainer, upgraded his phone every year, bought a watch that cost more than some people's cars. "Image matters in this business," he'd explain when I questioned the expenses. "People need to see that I'm successful. It builds trust." I understood the logic, even if I didn't love the spending. What bothered me more were the changes in how he treated our relationship. Date nights became less frequent. He stopped asking about my work. When I'd try to share something exciting from my day, he'd listen with half an ear while scrolling through his phone. "Sorry, babe," he'd say, not looking up. "Client emergency. You were saying something about quarterly reports." The distance grew slowly, like water eroding stone. He started working later, traveling more, attending conferences and retreats that somehow never included partners. Our conversations became transactional: who was picking up groceries, whose turn it was to do laundry, whether we were free for his coworker's birthday party. Even discussions about starting fertility treatments again were met with excuses about timing and stress. "Let's wait until after this big client project," became his standard response. "I want to be fully present when we have kids." The irony wasn't lost on me. He wanted to be fully present for hypothetical children while becoming increasingly absent from our actual marriage. That's when Lena entered the picture. Alex had been complaining about back pain for months. Too much sitting, too much stress, the usual complaints of someone approaching 40. I suggested physical therapy, but he had a better idea. "I'm going to hire a private yoga instructor," he announced one evening. "Someone who specializes in corporate wellness. It'll be good for business too. I can offer it as a service to clients." Lena Rivera was 25, with the kind of Instagram-perfect body that made yoga look effortless. She had long dark hair, perfectly bronzed skin, and those expensive workout clothes that somehow made even downward dog look glamorous. Alex found her through a wellness app, hired her for twice-weekly sessions in our home. I met her the first day she came over. She was professional, friendly, surprisingly intelligent. She had a degree in kinesiology and was working toward certification as a holistic health coach. She spoke passionately about mind-body connection, the importance of breathwork, finding balance in modern life. "Your husband has such great energy," she told me after their first session. "He's really open to the spiritual side of wellness. A lot of corporate guys resist that, but Alex gets it." I smiled and offered her water, told her I was glad Alex had found someone to help with his back pain. What I didn't say was that I'd noticed how Alex had showered and put on cologne before their session, how he'd spent 20 minutes choosing the right workout clothes, how he'd cleaned the living room with more attention to detail than he'd shown our space in months. The sessions went well. Alex's back pain improved, his mood lifted, his energy increased. He started talking about yoga philosophy at dinner, quoting things Lena had taught him about mindfulness and intentional living. "She's really helping me reconnect with what matters," he'd say. "I feel more centered than I have in years." After 2 months, Alex suggested expanding the sessions. Maybe 3 times a week, maybe some weekend workshops, maybe even a retreat. "It's an investment in my health," he explained, "and potential business development. Lena knows people in the wellness industry." The sessions moved from our living room to Alex's office, then to a private studio Lena rented downtown. The timing became irregular, sometimes morning sessions that ran long, sometimes evening appointments that ended after I was asleep. I started noticing other changes. Alex bought new workout clothes, expensive brands I'd never heard of. He started eating differently, cutting out gluten and dairy based on Lena's suggestions. He downloaded meditation apps, bought crystals, started talking about chakras and energy alignment. Lena thinks I have blocked root chakra energy, he'd tell me seriously. She's helping me work through some deep-seated issues around masculinity and power. The language he used started changing too. Everything became about authentic living and honoring his truth and releasing limiting beliefs. When I'd suggest we spend more time together, he'd talk about codependency patterns and the importance of individual growth within partnership. You seem stressed, he'd observe when I expressed frustration. Maybe you should try yoga. Lena could probably help you too. The suggestion felt like an insult, though I couldn't quite articulate why. Here I was, working 60-hour weeks to maintain our lifestyle while he found himself through overpriced stretching sessions, and his solution to my stress was more yoga. But the real shift came around month 4 of his sessions with Lena. Alex started talking about work trips, wellness conferences, immersive training experiences that required overnight stays. Always somewhere beautiful, Sedona, Chelum, Big Sur, always focused on elevated consciousness and breakthrough healing. Lena's invited me to assist with her advanced practitioner training, he announced one Thursday evening. It's a 3-day intensive in Napa Valley. Incredible opportunity to deepen my practice and make connections in the wellness space. Something in his tone made me pause. The way he avoided eye contact, the slight flush in his cheeks, the careful way he phrased it as a professional opportunity rather than what it obviously was, a romantic getaway. That sounds expensive, I said carefully. It's an investment, he replied, using his favorite justification. Besides, we can afford it. Your bonus came through, right? My bonus, to fund his weekend with another woman. That night, after Alex fell asleep, I did something I'd never done in 10 years of marriage. I looked through his phone. The messages with Lena started innocuously enough. Scheduling changes, discussions about his progress, articles about wellness trends. But as I scrolled back through months of conversations, I watched their relationship evolve in real time. Professional boundaries dissolving, personal details creeping in, inside jokes, heart emojis, late-night texts about energy shifts and spiritual connections. Then came the photos. Alex shirtless after a particularly intense session. Lena in various yoga poses, each more revealing than the last. Screenshots of hotel bookings, restaurant reservations for 2. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of betrayal, documented in their own words. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. There were discussions about my work schedule, planning their meetings around when I'd be out. References to when we can finally be together and starting our new life. The most damning message was from just 2 weeks earlier. Alex, told her I'm going to that conference in Denver. We'll have the whole weekend. Lena, perfect. Can't wait to have you all to myself. She has no idea, does she? Alex, none. Addison's so buried in work she barely notices I exist anymore. Honestly, it's like living with a roommate. And thank God we never had kids. Can you imagine how complicated this would be? Lena, soon you won't have to worry about any of that. Vegas is going to be perfect. A fresh start for both of us. Vegas. They were planning to run away together to Vegas. I sat in our bed, surrounded by evidence of my husband's affair, and felt something strange happen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't wake him up and demand explanations. Instead, I felt a cold clarity wash over me. If Alex wanted to play games, I was going to play to win. The next morning, I woke up before Alex and made coffee like nothing had happened. I kissed him goodbye when he left for his client meeting and wished him a productive day. Then I called in sick to work and drove to the office of Gray Webb, the divorce attorney my friend Addison had recommended after her own messy split. Gray was exactly what I needed. Sharp, experienced, and completely unsympathetic to cheating spouses who tried to hide assets. He listened to my story without judgment, took notes on legal pads, and laid out my options with surgical precision. The good news is you have excellent documentation, he said, after reviewing the photos I'd taken of Alex's messages. The bad news is your husband appears to be what we call a malicious spender. He's deliberately running up debt and hiding assets before leaving. That suggests premeditation. What does that mean for me? It means we need to move fast and we need to be strategic. If he's planning to leave you with joint debt while he starts fresh, we can turn that against him. But timing is everything. Gray explained the process. Filing for divorce would trigger automatic temporary restraining orders on all assets. No one could spend, sell, hide, or transfer anything without court approval. But we needed to be positioned properly first. "I need you to document everything," he told me. "Every asset, every account, every piece of property. I need to know what's yours, what's his, and what's joint. And I need you to secure your separate property immediately." That afternoon, I began the most methodical investigation of my own life. I pulled bank statements, credit reports, property records, investment accounts. I photographed important documents, made copies of everything, created detailed spreadsheets tracking our financial history. What I discovered was worse than I'd imagined. Alex hadn't just been having an affair. He'd been systematically draining our joint accounts to fund it. Over the past 6 months, he'd charged over $40,000 to our credit cards. The expenses told the story of his relationship with Lena in heartbreaking detail. Hotel stays in romantic locations, expensive dinners for two, jewelry purchases from Tiffany and Cartier that I'd never seen, spa treatments, weekend getaways, a weekend in Cabo that happened while I was visiting my sick mother, a business conference in Miami that coincided with Lena's birthday based on her Instagram posts. He'd even charged couples massage sessions to our joint account. The audacity was breathtaking. But Alex had made several crucial mistakes. First, he'd been using his business account for personal expenses, mixing his affair costs with legitimate company charges. Second, he'd been categorizing personal expenses as business deductions on his taxes. And third, he'd been stupid enough to book everything under his real name, creating a paper trail that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. "This is actually perfect," Gray told me when I brought him the evidence. "Your husband has just handed us a slam dunk case for asset recovery. He's been stealing from your joint marital property to fund an affair, lying on tax documents, and potentially committing business fraud. A judge is going to crucify him." The next step was securing my separate assets. I had inherited a substantial sum from my grandmother 5 years earlier, money that had been sitting in a joint investment account, technically making it marital property. Gray helped me establish an irrevocable trust, legally separating those funds and protecting them from division. I also discovered that I could legally transfer my ownership stake in our condo to my name alone. The property had been purchased primarily with my income and inheritance, and Alex had signed papers during a refinancing that gave me the authority to make changes to the deed. He'd been so focused on lowering our monthly payments that he'd never read the fine print. Within 2 weeks, I had quietly repositioned every asset I could legally control. My inheritance was protected. The condo was mine. My retirement accounts were secured. Even the car Alex drove daily was leased through my consulting business, giving me the power to revoke his access. But I needed to be patient. Filing for divorce too early would tip him off before he made his final mistake. I needed Alex to believe he was in control, that his plan was working perfectly. So I played my part. I remained the dedicated, oblivious wife. I worked my long hours, paid the bills, asked about his day. When he told me about an upcoming wellness retreat in Las Vegas, I expressed interest in his professional development. "That sounds amazing," I said, stirring pasta at the stove. "How long will you be gone?" "Just a long weekend, Thursday through Monday. It's intensive work, really diving deep into advanced healing modalities." With Lena, I watched him carefully, but Alex didn't even flinch at the mention of her name. "Yeah, she's leading one of the workshops. Great opportunity to learn from someone at her level." His ease with the lie was almost impressive. Here he was, planning to run away with his girlfriend, and he delivered the deception with the same casual tone he'd used to discuss the weather. "I'm proud of you for prioritizing your growth," I told him, and I meant it. Just not in the way he thought. The week before his planned Vegas trip, I made my final preparations. I met with Gray one last time to review our strategy. I gathered all remaining evidence. I prepared backup copies of everything and stored them in multiple locations. Most importantly, I filed for divorce. The papers were submitted on Tuesday morning. By law, Alex wouldn't be served until he returned from his trip, giving him time to dig his hole even deeper. But the filing immediately triggered protective orders on all our assets. Any spending, transferring, or hiding of marital property after that date would be considered contempt of court. Tuesday evening, Alex was giddy with excitement about his upcoming trip. He packed carefully, choosing his best clothes, his expensive cologne, the watch I'd bought him for our anniversary. He was practically glowing with anticipation. "I have a good feeling about this weekend," he told me as he zipped up his suitcase. "I think it might be transformative." "I hope so," I replied. "You deserve to be happy." Wednesday morning, Alex left for his flight. He kissed me goodbye at the door, promised to text when he landed, told me he loved me. I watched him drive away in the car I legally owned, with credit cards I was about to cancel, heading toward the woman who was about to become a very expensive mistake. Then I went inside and called Gray. "He's on the plane," I told him. "Perfect. Let's destroy this bastard." Thursday morning, while Alex was probably enjoying room service with Lena in their Vegas suite, I was busy putting the final pieces of my plan into motion. First, I called our credit card companies and reported the cards as stolen. Since I was the primary account holder and Alex was only an authorized user, I had the power to suspend his access immediately. Every card in his wallet was now worthless plastic. Next, I contacted the leasing company for Alex's BMW and reported it as stolen. Since the lease was in my business name and Alex wasn't an authorized driver, his use of the vehicle without permission constituted theft. Then I had the locks changed on our condo. Since the property was now legally in my name alone, I had every right to restrict access. By Thursday afternoon, Alex was trapped in Vegas with no money, no car to return to, and no home to come back to. But he didn't know it yet. The first sign of trouble came Thursday evening. Alex tried to pay for dinner and his card was declined. Probably embarrassing, but not catastrophic. He had multiple cards, and credit card companies sometimes flagged unusual spending in Vegas. But card after card was declined. Then Lena tried her cards, only to discover that Alex had been using her account information to book parts of their trip. Her cards were maxed out with charges she hadn't authorized. Friday morning, Alex called me for the first time. "Hey, I'm having some weird credit card problems," he said, trying to sound casual. "All my cards are getting declined. Must be some kind of fraud protection thing. Can you call the banks and sort it out?" "Oh no," I said, injecting just the right amount of concern into my voice. "That sounds terrible. What hotel are you staying at? I'll call you back once I figure out what's wrong." "The Bellagio, room 2847. But don't call the room phone. Lena and I are in workshops most of the day. Just text me when it's fixed." "Of course, I'll handle everything." I didn't call the banks. Instead, I called Gray and gave him Alex's exact location. Within an hour, a process server was walking through the Bellagio lobby with divorce papers and a court summons. But I wasn't done. See, Alex had made one final crucial error. In planning his Vegas getaway, he'd booked everything through his business accounts, categorizing the expenses as client development and professional training. He'd used company funds to pay for his romantic escape with Lena. I had documentation of every fraudulent expense. Hotel rooms, flights, restaurants, spa treatments, even couples' activities, all charged to his business and claimed as tax deductions. It was a felony-level paper trail of embezzlement and tax fraud. Friday afternoon, I made one more call. This time to the IRS fraud hotline. Saturday morning, while Alex was probably discovering that his key cards no longer worked and that hotel security was asking questions about his unpaid bills, I was sitting in my kitchen drinking coffee and reading the morning news. Peaceful, calm, completely in control. My phone rang at 9:23 a.m. "What the hell did you do?" Alex's voice was pure rage, higher pitched than I'd ever heard it. In the background, I could hear voices, Lena crying, hotel staff speaking in urgent tones, what sounded like security guards. "Good morning, Alex," I said pleasantly. "How's Vegas?" "Don't play games with me. My cards don't work. They're saying I owe the hotel $13,000, and some guy just handed me divorce papers. What the hell is going on?" "Oh, you got the papers? Good. I was worried the process server wouldn't find you. How's room 2847? "Nice view." The silence stretched for 10 seconds. When Alex spoke again, his voice was different, smaller. "You knew." "I knew what, Alex?" "About me and about you and your 25-year-old yoga instructor." About the $40,000 you've stolen from our joint accounts to fund your midlife crisis. About the business expenses you've been falsifying for 6 months. About the tax fraud. About the embezzlement. Oh yes, Alex. I know everything. Another long silence. I could hear him breathing, probably trying to figure out how much trouble he was in. Listen, he said, attempting to regain control. We can work this out. Come to Vegas, we'll talk. I made some mistakes, but I'm not coming to Vegas, Alex. But you should probably start thinking about how you're getting back to Chicago, assuming you can make bail. Bail. What are you talking about? Well, stealing from joint marital assets is one thing. But when you use business funds for personal expenses and lie about it on tax documents, that becomes federal fraud. I filed a complaint with the IRS yesterday. I imagine they'll want to chat with you soon. The sound that came through the phone wasn't quite a scream, but it wasn't human either. Pure anguish and rage and terror all mixed together. You can't do this to me, he said, and now I could hear him crying. I love her, I love Lena, we're going to be together. How's that working out for you? Is she still there or did she leave when your credit card stopped working? More silence. Longer this time, she's talking to hotel management, trying to sort out the bill. Ah, so she's trying to save herself. Smart girl, you might want to consider doing the same. Please, Alex said, and the word came out broken. Please, we can fix this. I'll come home. I'll end it with Lena. We can go to counseling. I'll do whatever you want. For just a moment, I felt something that might have been pity. This man I'd loved for 12 years, supported for a decade, built a life with, he was completely destroyed. Financially ruined, legally compromised, personally humiliated, professionally devastated. But then I remembered the messages I'd read on his phone. The casual cruelty of his words about me, the way he'd laughed with Lena about my ignorance, the contempt he'd shown for everything I'd sacrificed for our marriage. No, Alex. We can't fix this. You made your choice when you decided to steal $40,000 to fund your affair. You made your choice when you lied on federal tax forms. You made your choice when you left me that voicemail Wednesday evening, laughing about how you'd maxed out our credit cards. What voicemail? I didn't. Oh, you forgot about that. Let me refresh your memory. Or maybe you were too drunk to remember destroying your wife's life. I played back his message on speakerphone, listening to his own words echo back to him. The casual cruelty, the dismissive laughter, the complete lack of concern for my well-being. When it finished, Alex was quiet for a long time. I was angry. I didn't mean it like that. Angry? I let out a bitter laugh. Alex, you were laughing. You said LOL about maxing out our credit cards. You sounded giddy with excitement about your new life. That wasn't anger, that was cruelty. You meant every word. And now you get to live with the consequences. What do you want from me? Money, I'll pay everything back, just please don't destroy my life. Your life, Alex, what about my life? What about the 10 years I spent building our future while you found yourself? What about the sacrifices I made, the dreams I deferred, the trust you shattered? My voice was rising now, months of suppressed anger finally breaking through. You didn't just cheat on me. You stole from me. You lied to the government. You humiliated me. You treated our marriage like a joke while you played house with a woman half my age. And then you had the audacity to laugh about it. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. No, Alex, you're not sorry, you're caught, there's a difference. I hung up the phone. 2 hours later, my lawyer called with an update. Alex had been arrested at the Bellagio for credit card fraud. Apparently, he'd tried to use Lena's information to pay the hotel bill, not realizing that she'd already reported her cards as compromised after discovering his unauthorized charges. Lena had disappeared sometime Saturday night, leaving Alex to face the consequences alone. She'd booked a flight back to Chicago using her emergency credit card and was probably already packing her apartment. But the real news came Monday morning. The IRS had launched a full investigation into Alex's business practices. His corporate accounts were frozen pending an audit. His business license was suspended. His clients were being contacted and informed of potential irregularities in their billing. In the span of one weekend, Alex had lost his wife, his girlfriend, his home, his car, his business, and his freedom. He was facing federal charges, civil penalties, and complete financial ruin. Gray called it the most thorough self-destruction he'd seen in 20 years of divorce law. The divorce proceedings took 8 months, but the outcome was never in question. Alex's lawyers tried everything, claiming I'd entrapped him, arguing that his affair was caused by our troubled marriage, even suggesting that I'd manipulated him into committing fraud. None of it worked. The evidence was too clear, the timeline too obvious, the financial crimes too well documented. Alex had systematically stolen from our joint assets, committed federal tax fraud, and embezzled from the business to fund an extramarital affair. No judge in the country would have ruled in his favor. In the end, I received 70% of our marital assets, plus full ownership of the condo, plus damages for the stolen funds, plus all legal fees. Alex was ordered to pay restitution for the fraudulent business expenses and faced 3 years of federal probation for tax evasion. His business never recovered. Once word got out about the fraud investigation, his clients fled, and his reputation was destroyed. The man who'd built his career on trust and integrity was exposed as a liar and a thief. Lena moved back to California within a month. I heard through mutual friends that she'd started dating a tech entrepreneur in San Francisco, someone with better prospects and cleaner legal records. She never returned Alex's calls. As for me, I took early retirement from my consulting job and started my own firm. Without Alex's constant financial drain, I discovered I had more money than I'd realized. The condo was paid off, my legal victory had left me financially secure, and my consulting business was thriving. I bought a small cabin in Colorado, started hiking regularly, learned to ski. I traveled to places Alex had never wanted to visit: Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, parts of Africa. I read books, took cooking classes, dated occasionally but without pressure. For the first time in over a decade, I was living for myself. The strangest part was how peaceful I felt. I'd expected to be angry for years, to carry the betrayal like a weight. But once justice was served, once the legal battles were over, I found myself simply free. I changed my phone number, deleted my old email accounts, moved to a different neighborhood. I wanted a clean slate, no connections to the life Alex had poisoned with his selfishness. But I kept one thing from our marriage: that voicemail he'd left me, laughing as he destroyed our life together. I saved it on my phone, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes, the people who underestimate you the most are the ones who know you the least. 6 months ago, I ran into one of Alex's former business partners at a coffee shop in Denver. He recognized me and came over to chat, curious about how I was doing. I heard Alex is working at a yoga studio now, he told me. Teaching basic classes, making about $15 an hour. Lena's engaged to some venture capitalist. Living in a mansion in Palo Alto. I nodded politely, sipped my coffee, and realized I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no sadness, just nothing. "How are you doing?" he asked. This whole thing must have been devastating. I looked out the window at the mountains, thought about my upcoming trip to New Zealand, considered the 3 new clients who'd signed contracts with my firm this month. "Actually," I said, "I'm doing better than I ever have." And I meant it. That night, I listened to Alex's voicemail one more time. His voice, so confident and cruel, laughing about how he was starting a new life while leaving me with the debris of our marriage. The laugh at the end used to cut through me like glass. Now it just sounded hollow. Pathetic. The desperate bravado of a man who thought he was winning a game he didn't understand. Alex flew to Vegas thinking he was starting a new life. He didn't know he was already living in the ashes of the one I'd burned down behind him. Sometimes the quietest revenge is the most complete. Sometimes the person who says nothing is the one who planned everything. And sometimes, when someone shows you exactly who they are, the best thing you can do is believe them and act accordingly. I deleted the voicemail that night. I didn't need it anymore. After all, I had something better than revenge. I had freedom. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. And don't forget to share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got more incredible revenge stories coming your way.